بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. We look at a few more ahadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam pertaining to death, pertaining to the qabr. It is said that one day Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam came into the masjid. One day he came into the masjid, and as he was coming in, just outside the masjid, a few people were standing and they were smiling at each other. They were sharing a joke, so they were like laughing. So he said to them, he says that if you remember maut often, it will divert your mind from this laughter and this worldly pleasure. So from this we learn that there must come a time in our lives where we also make serious fikr and serious thought of maut and the life after death. We can't just live a life of enjoyment, luxury all the time. That makes us unmindful of Allah. They say that when this ayat was revealed, or rather when the surah was revealed, إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحِ, and in that surah Allah was indirectly informing Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam that his mission had come to an end. إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحِ. Then after that, they say that they never ever saw Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam even smiling. It was right through from that moment onwards. For those few months till he passed away, he was very serious. So obviously Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was granted maghfirat by Allah, yet he was so concerned about the time of maut and the qabr. Then he told the Sahaba that not a day passes when the qabr doesn't make this announcement. The qabr speaks. Now remember, speech, it comes from Allah. Allah can make anything speak. Like we speak, what makes us speak? So we say we got this, our vocal cords. But the question is, what puts the sound in the vocal cords? That is from Allah. So at the end of the day, it stops by Allah. You can say that vocal cords and the sound goes through the air, whatever. But at the end of the day, it comes from Allah. So Allah can make anything speak. Qiyamah day, our hands will speak. Our feet will speak. It will testify. The ground where we made ibadat on, or where we committed a sin on, that ground will speak and testify in our favor or against us. So the qabr speaks, and the qabr says, Ana baytul wahda, I am the abode of loneliness. Ana baytul ghurba, I am the abode of desolation. That means there's nothing here. There's no building, nothing. It's a place that is ruined. Ana baytul turab, I am the abode of sand. And wa ana baytul dood, I am the abode of worms. Allah Ta'ala save us, Allah protect us from the adab of the qabr, the worms that will eat up the human body. In another hadith sharif, Sayyidina Ali radhiyallahu anhu says, we know that in our lifetime, it is good to be in the company of pious people. It is good to sit next to pious people, to live next to them. It comes in the hadith that if in a street is a pious person living, then that pious person benefits the homes, the other homes in that street, through his taqwa and his piety. So if he's got a lot of taqwa, then other people also benefit. Allah protects the other people through that pious person. So even after maut, the awliya Allah, the ulama used to like to be buried next to pious people. So Hazrat Ali radhiyallahu anhu says that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave us this instruction that when a person dies, then you must give him a good kafan. The good kafan means you must give him a kafan that is reasonable, that is clean, and the kafan should be wrapped in the proper manner around the body, so that the body doesn't get exposed. Then if he's got a wasiyat, you must fulfill that wasiyat as quick as possible. Then when you put him in the qabr and you dig that qabr, dig it deep. It is sunnah to have a deep qabr. Why? For many reasons. One is if the qabr collapses or the rain falls, the body won't be exposed, or animals can't come and dig up that body. And then the last thing he says, that make sure you bury that your Muslim relative next to pious people or in the company of pious people. That means where other pious people are buried. So the Sahaba said, Ya Rasulullah, do you mean that even after death, the company of pious people will benefit one? So Rasulullah said that just like in his lifetime, being in the company of pious people is beneficial. Likewise, after a person dies also, to be buried in a grave, in a cemetery where there are many pious and good Muslims buried. So sometimes we do find, and maybe I should mention this mas'ala here, sometimes you find a person, especially in places where there are very few Muslims, a Muslim is buried in a non-Muslim qabristan, a non-Muslim maqbara. So what happens there? So that doesn't affect the iman of that Muslim. He's still a Muslim, and inshallah, if he's got good a'mal, he will go to Jannah. But as long as he is buried in that qabr, he gets affected by the adab that is being sent down upon the kuffar buried around him. So he won't have a rest in peace in his qabr. It will trouble him hearing the adab, the screams, the pain, the anger, the anguish, the shrieks of the people that are being punished, because he's surrounded by these kuffar. So therefore we should always look at burying a person in a Muslim cemetery. If you can't help it, that's a different matter. Many people die, we don't know if they are Muslim. People think they are Christian, they bury them in the Christian cemetery, but they are Muslim, they died with Iman. Only Allah Ta'ala knows. So Allah Ta'ala will grant those people maghfirat, but they will be affected by the graves that are around them. Allah Ta'ala knows. Yes.